Okay, Brexit, exit, chaos in the House of Commons. Also, the House of Lords very busy. The Pollies, of course, if you've seen on the news, they voted against a no-deal Brexit from the EU. They've also now voted against a general election in the UK, when only a couple of days ago it would seem that that they were in favour, the Labour was in favour of a general election. Now they're saying they are not. And the thing that's stuck in my mind is that interesting bit of trivia that in the days after the shock vote to leave, the most Googled question coming out of the UK was, quote, what is the EU? Now, for the latest on the embattled UK, I'm speaking to Professor Thom Brooks, Dean of Law at Durham University. Professor Brooks, good evening.
Good to be here.
Now, where are we at the moment? I think if the House of Lords has now knocked it back as well, or about to?
I think they're about to. So they're expected to be voting on what's been called the Benn bill, named after Hilary Benn, that would effectively force the Prime Minister into going to Brussels to seek an extension, a delay, as it's called, on the Brexit date to January.
But you've had the Prime Minister has made it so clear from the very minute that he got there that October 31 is it. There's no ifs, no buts. That's what he insists has to happen.
He's been saying that now. He, of course, did not say that at all during the referendum campaign that he successfully led in the surprise victory, nor did he say no deal was a good idea for much of the time when he was Foreign Secretary either. But he is certainly, as you rightly say, he's been saying this now, that the country is prepared for no deal. He is certainly prepared to see the country out one way or another. It is, I think, one of the things that's helped his critics and his opponents are on all sides of the House. This is not a Labour thing. He's got a number of Tories against him, including Churchill's grandson, is that in all this talk of being prepared for no deal, he's actually not spent any money on actually preparing for no deal. There isn't anyone hired for the border. There isn't anyone actually in place to oversee EU functions that would have been done maybe by someone else or a different agency, but now would be taken over by the UK, preparing UK for a no deal in the most seamless and least disruptive way. I think that's been giving a lot of fuel to his critics who worry about the impact on constituents, that they might say, you know, they want Brexit one way or another and are sick. I think most of the country is sick of this debate, but are not prepared to see people lose financially, substantially, according to every assessment, official or otherwise, of a no deal exit.
Now, obviously, at some stage there will be a general election, but what happens to the more than 20 Conservatives who defied the Prime Minister and went against him? Will they be taken back, or will they have to stand as independents, banished from the party?
I have to say, I was really surprised by that. Surprised that 21 were expelled, 20 of them being ministers, almost all of them senior. I mean, Kenneth Clarke, Nicholas Soames, I mentioned Churchill's grandson, and Rory Stewart, who was a leadership candidate as well. I mean, really incredible. And apparently Theresa May, the previous Prime Minister, has confirmed that she has gone and appealed that they be readmitted to the party and that they not be deselected. This has really upset a lot of people on his own benches. So I think if there is a general election, I think that that he'd be hard pressed to deny it. I mean, these are folks who've been more loyal voting with the Conservatives most recently and over time than Boris Johnson has been. For one, I think his making enemies of these people right now at this point has been very bad. You know, in doing this action, he has not just lost a majority of one, he has now very much a minority government and has everyone against him. And that will not make winning a general election any easier when he has the big beasts now set up against him. And this was also, mind you, not about stopping Brexit. This was a vote over who should control the order paper. Should it be Boris Johnson determining what the House of Commons talks about, or should it be the Parliament deciding what should be talked about? It wasn't actually a vote about Brexit. It wasn't actually a vote to stop Brexit, or it wasn't a vote about no deal. It was just a procedural measure, and for that, they get expelled. I mean, extraordinary. I mean, to think, what if Jeremy Corbyn and Labour had done anything like this? What would they be saying about him? You know, it doesn't bear thinking about.
Well, can Boris Johnson survive this? I mean, if he's lost control of Parliament, can he survive, or will he become probably the shortest-serving Prime Minister ever?
Well, he's certainly, Boris Johnson, I'm sure was looking to have some records as Prime Minister. He's certainly got one. No one in British history has ever lost their first 3 votes in the House of Commons, and Boris has lost the first 4. He's 0 for 4 right now. I think it is very difficult to see him surviving. The only reason that there hasn't been a general election agreed, and you noted in the beginning of the segment that absolutely Labour was supportive of this, is that no one trusts Boris Johnson right now. He says that if Parliament does pass a bill, that he might refuse to go to the Queen to have her sign it. What they want to do is they want to say, right, we're going to pass this law. It's going to bind the Prime Minister to ruling out a no-deal outcome. And then once he's done that, which he's required by law to do anyway, but we're in interesting times in Britain. Once he does that, then we'll have that vote he wants about the general election, and we'll go that way. But I think it's very difficult seeing him survive. He's got big beasts that are out to get him on his own side. He's completely lost Parliament. He had said that he was just optimistic and he was going to have all these new plans and new ideas to move forward. Brussels has said that no one from Britain has actually come with any negotiations yet, that Boris is telling the Parliament that he's been holding, so he seems that he might be misleading Parliament. And on top of all of this, he's having some messages stick. He's made some, we'll call them colorful remarks in the past about ethnic minorities and women and so on. These are all now starting to stick. He's becoming an increasingly divisive and unpopular figure. And this seems to only get worse if he's not able to seize the legislative agenda. And it seems right now that's going to be very difficult. Unlike Donald Trump, who can sign executive orders and try to show some type of momentum and is of course the head of state, the Prime Minister isn't head of state, is not in control of these things, does not have executive orders, and I think things he may well be the shortest-lived Prime Minister, but he'll have to wait till November to set that record.
Well, you made a good point saying he's lost 4 votes already in the first week. I think Maggie Thatcher lost 4 votes in about 14 years.
I think you're absolutely right, and they had some similar statistic about Tony Blair that for all the divisiveness and problems that Blair had, that he might have only lost 4 votes during his time as Prime Minister, and not over Iraq, which was very much his undoing in terms of his legacy. Whereas, Boris has done worse than Maggie Thatcher or Tony Blair. It would seem, in the whole of their multi-term prime ministerships. I mean, it's really extraordinary stuff. But I think it may well get worse. I think records are made to be broken, and Boris may well have more surprises for us yet.
I think so. Professor, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Great joy. Thank you.
Thank you. Professor Brooks in Durham. All right, coming up, I want to talk about East.